Through the Dragon Ball world, Luo Tian became a Saiyan on the planet Vegeta. At the beginning, he exchanged a simple version of Weiss's free mind with a piece of technology and ruthless starch sausage. Unexpectedly, he unexpectedly cultivated the power of angels. From then on, Luo Tian worked hard to become an angel. Several years later, the 88th regular meeting of the God of Destruction, the God of Realm, and the Angel of Internship, with all the gods sitting at a table. Billis suddenly stood up and said, "Luo Tian, please stand up first." Luo Tian. Billis. You stand up for a moment, it will be ready soon. Luo Tian stood up strangely. Billis. What I want to say is, everyone here is trash. Luo Tian. Billis, please sit down and I want to play too. Billis. You're an angel, why don't you talk about martial arts? Keywords of the novel. Dragon Ball. I, the Saiyan person, will eventually become an angel without a pop-up window. Dragon Ball. I, the Saiyan person, will eventually become an angel. Complete collection download. Dragon Ball. I, the Saiyan person, will eventually become an angel. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. The Power of Angels. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 The Power of Angels AG 737. The Seventh Universe, the planet Vegeta. In the twilight of summer, the night sky is like a mysterious black thread, adorned with twinkling stars. Luo Tian looked up at the starry sky, silently pondering. Hello, Luo Tian, are you really leisurely? Do you still have the leisure to daydream here? A childish voice with a cold and proud tone suddenly sounded behind Luo Tian. Luo Tian didn't even need to turn back, he already knew who was talking. The speaker was the Saiyan Prince Vegeta. Vegeta is only 5 years old this year, with a short stature and inverted black hair. She is wearing combat armor and her tail sways gently behind her. You better take a good look at your combat effectiveness. Vegeta said, pressing her small hand on the detector in her eyes. BB. The detector displayed a signal. After 3 seconds. Vegeta froze, her eyes filled with confusion and confusion. 200 combat power. Vegeta exclaimed in shock, what a joke. How could this be? 3 days ago, your combat power was still 1000. A year ago, your maximum combat power was 20,000. Why does your combat power decrease as you cultivate? Vegeta, Luo Tian sighed and walked forward, appearing next to Vegeta. Luo Tian is only 5 years old this year, but he is about 2 centimeters taller than Vegeta. Humph, you should be called His Highness the Prince. Vegeta was dissatisfied with Luo Tian's way of calling herself. Schwa. Luo Tian reached out and grabbed the detector that Vegeta was wearing in her eyes. What? My detector. You. Give me back my detector. Vegeta's innocent face changed color and shouted loudly. But this guy is so fast. How did he do it? Vegeta, remember not to rely on the data of this thing, Luo Tian said, lightly pinching it with his hand. Click. The detector made a crisp sound and shattered into several pieces on the spot, with many parts slipping out of Luo Tian's hands. You. Dare you destroy my detector? Vegeta was furious. I'll see if it can be fixed, Luo Tian pondered. Vegeta. What? Vegeta is a bit confused. Fix it. How many meanings do you mean? Luo Tian took a deep breath and his expression became solemn. Suddenly, a brilliant flame appeared in his hand, resembling a star. The dazzling flames looked somewhat cloudy and quickly covered the shattered detector. Suddenly, the shattered detector was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Vegeta widened her eyes, revealing endless shock. What is the situation? About 30 seconds later. The detector, which was crushed by Luo Tian himself, was restored to its original appearance under the gaze of Vegeta. Even the parts that fell on the ground before ran back into the detector on their own. You. What trick were you using just now? Vegeta looked surprised and stuttered as she spoke, with an incredulous expression on her immature face. The power of angels. Luo Tian slowly spat out 4 words in his mouth. The power of angels. What is that? Vegeta was stunned. You're still young, you'll know when you grow up, Luo Tian patted Vegeta's shoulder. Che. Who is that? You seem to be older than me. Vegeta gritted her teeth. It's not important anymore. Luo Tian turned around and left. Vegeta. You destroyed my detector and said it's not important anymore. I see, you intentionally came to show off your special abilities, right? Give me back the detector. Vegeta shouted. Luo Tian casually threw the detector to Vegeta. Vegeta caught the detector and quickly put it on her eyes. Next, Vegeta pressed the button on the detector. BB. The detector uploaded a signal, which immediately displayed the combat effectiveness value of Luo Tian. 100 combat power. Why did it decrease again? Vegeta was a bit confused and quickly asked, I heard you practiced according to the way in a strange book, which is why your combat power decreased. Luo Tian slowly stopped and took out a book from his pocket, throwing it to Vegeta. Pop. Vegeta took the book down and quickly glanced at the cover. Do you really have a book? A guide to practicing carefree extreme intention. Vegeta murmured softly, revealing a look of confusion. That's right, it's because I practiced this that I have the current ability, isn't it good? Luo Tian smiled. Where did you get this book from? Vegeta was momentarily stunned and a bit confused. Do you remember last year when a cat and a person with blue skin came to our planet? Luo Tian smiled. What? You. Are you talking about the destructive god Pyrrhus and his followers? Vegeta's face changed and her body trembled violently. That's right. Luo Tian nodded. I used a piece of technology and tough starch sausage to exchange this book for the man named Weiss. So, after practicing the skills above, your combat power has increased from 20,000 to the current 100. Vegeta was stunned. Luo Tian nodded again. Vegeta immediately looked at Luo Tian like a fool. Is this product stupid? When you were 4 years old, you had 20,000 combat power. Among us Saiyan people, he is definitely a super genius warrior. Father intends to train you to become my personal guard. But you spent a year, and suddenly your combat power dropped from 20,000 to 100. You are really a talent. The relationship between Luo Tian and Vegeta is quite good. The two are of similar age, and Luo Tian is a former genius warrior and also the child of another family as described by King Vegeta. From a young age, Vegeta also lived in an environment suppressed by Luo Tian. Her young soul's shadow area was almost expanding to the size of the planet Vegeta. Fortunately, since last year, Luo Tian's combat effectiveness has declined instead of increasing, and has plummeted in a straight line. Vegeta suddenly felt that every day was sunny and she could wake up from her dreams with a smile. Luo Tian still admires Vegeta quite a bit. In the Dragon Ball plot, Vegeta is portrayed very successfully. He gradually grew from a proud warrior to a highly responsible father and husband. In Dragon Ball Super, Sun Wukong, the male lead, has become a dog who only knows how to fight. You've lost all your combat power just to learn such boring skills. Vegeta seemed to understand. That's pretty much what it means, Luo Tian nodded lightly. I've given you that book. I've learned it now. As long as I practice it well, I should have better improvement. TSK, I don't want this kind of junk. Vegeta shook her head decisively. Having said that, out of curiosity, Vegeta still flipped through the contents of this book. Freedom of extreme meaning. Without the need for brain thinking, let various parts of oneself go beyond instinct to perceive the dangers around, engage in reflexive movements, and maximize movement speed and reaction ability. Condition. Have a peaceful heart, with no distractions, optimistic and positive. Upon seeing the introduction about freedom and extreme meaning written on Fey page, Vegeta showed a disdainful expression on her face at that time. Without thinking through the brain, can various parts of the body perceive danger? Although Vegeta is only 5 years old, she quickly understood the meaning of this sentence. That is to say, learning this will be used to avoid various dangers, right? You can understand it that way. Luo Tian nodded lightly. Humph, Luo Tian, we are saints. We are a fighting nation. Just dodging can win the battle. Vegeta's expression became increasingly contemptuous. Luo Tian did not answer the conversation. Moreover, the cultivation condition mentioned above is to have a peaceful heart. Don't be joking. Vegeta chuckled lightly. Have you ever heard of a Super Saiyan? Having a peaceful heart. A Super Saiyan is the most powerful warrior in this universe. And he is naturally cruel. If he really has a peaceful heart, he can never become a Super Saiyan. What you said makes a lot of sense, let's not say it again, Luo Tian replied. Vegeta. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Do you know therapeutic techniques? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Do you know therapeutic techniques? Luo Tian has traveled through. As a Dragon Ball fan, Luo Tian stumbled upon Batos's notebook by chance and seemed to have opened the door to a new world, deeply attracted by her story. On a night at the top of the willow branches, Luo Tian inexplicably crossed over and became the Saiyan of the planet Vegeta in Dragon Ball world. While feeling lost and surprised, Luo Tian also felt a burst of excitement and disappointment in his heart. Excitedly, I have finally traveled to the world of Dragon Ball, and I am also a Saiyan warrior. Disappointed. I really want to become an angel. What I'm looking at is Batos's notebook. Why didn't you let me cross into an angel? When admiring Dragon Ball Super, Luo Tian's favorite is the Angel clan in Dragon Ball Super. Because the angels are true gods, possessing eternal life and omnipotent abilities. Moreover, there are 3 very beautiful fairy sisters in the Celestial clan, namely Batos from the 6th universe, Margarita from the 11th universe, and Kos from the 10th universe. Especially Batos, her notebook. TSK although the skin color of the angels is different from that of the Saiyans or Earthlings, but it's not important anymore. Since it's a god, it's still easy to change the color of the body, right? Luo Tian and Vegeta are of the same age, and their parents are the most outstanding warriors of King Vegeta, belonging to the elite warrior category. Not long after Luo Tian was born, his parents were on a mission when the spacecraft was hit by a devastating meteorite and died in space. The Saiyan people are a fighting nation who have been fighting in extraterrestrial warfare for many years and have died in battle. Therefore, on the vast planet of Vegeta, there are only a few thousand people left in the population today. There are many orphans like Luo Tian. Sometimes Luo Xinjin wants to make a good roast. Saya people, who are known as fighting nations, do not even have the most basic ability to survive in space. Simply this is enough to be fatal. How simple is it for someone to defeat you and directly destroy the planet you live on? Luo Tian's talent and qualifications are quite good, with a combat power of 600 at birth, almost on par with Vegeta. At the age of 4, Luo Tian even increased his combat effectiveness to a height of 20,000. However, for Luo Tian, it is still far from enough. However, King Vegeta was trembling with fear. From that time on, Vegeta lived under the protagonist halo of Lotte. Fortunately, from that day on, for some unknown reason, Luo Tian's combat effectiveness continued to decline like a slide. King Vegeta made a secret investigation. It seems that the attendant named Weiss beside Billis ate a sausage with strange taste from Luo Tian. In return, he gave Luo Tian a book. Throughout this year, Luo Tian has been studying the cultivation methods in that book. Then, his combat effectiveness continued to decline. In just 1 year, Luo Tian's combat effectiveness has dropped to 200. While King Vegeta felt relieved, he also felt a bit heartbroken. A good genius fighter, just useless. The servant next to Lord Billis is really a scammer. Also, what kind of sausage did you give to that person named Weiss? How unpleasant is it? Let him make such a fool of you. Even King Vegeta once deliberately called Luo Tian to his side and earnestly told him not to study that strange book anymore. However, Luo Tian remained unmoved and continued to follow his own path, carefully studying the cultivation methods in the book. King Vegeta did not persuade again. In short, for King Vegeta and many Saiyan people, Luo Tian is completely deposed. However, Luo Tian enjoyed it tirelessly. Others only think that Weiss is a follower of the god of destruction. But as a Dragon Ball fan, Luo Tian knows very well that Weiss is the true god. It is also the angel that Luo Tian wants to become. At the power conference of the plot year, the lost universe will be erased by the entire king himself. All the gods and planets in that universe will disappear in an instant. Only angels have stayed. Or it can be understood that even the god of destruction is actually the earliest elite selected from the universe. But angels are different. Angels are born gods and possess extraordinary strength. Moreover, only by becoming angels can one better love and care for Bados and her companions, right? As a human, what qualifications do you have to conduct more in-depth research with them? Then start practicing from the extreme of freedom first. At least in the plot of Dragon Ball Super, Sun Wukong's ultimate freedom is actually moving towards the path of angels. However, this journey seems very difficult. However, as long as he can become a true angel, even the bumpy and difficult road is not a problem for Luo Tian. For Bados. After a year of hard work and research, Luo Tian finally dissipated the energy he had previously cultivated, and finally condensed a relatively turbid angelic power. Although it is a murky angelic power, it also has some basic effects of angelic power. What can the power of angels do? Through this year of research, combined with the experience points of Dragon Ball powder in his previous life, Luo Tian has gained a clear understanding of the power of angels. The power of angels is equivalent to a universal energy. Or it is more appropriate to call it the universal magical energy. There is nothing you cannot do, except for what you never imagined. The power of angels can be transformed into, including but not limited to destruction, healing, magic, flames, object control, insight, resurrection. Even with the power of a powerful angel, time can be turned back a few minutes ago. Of course, the angelic power that Luo Tian can now condense cannot be reversed due to insufficient purity. For Luo Tian, it is also a small step towards the path of angels. In fact, to put it simply, the cultivation of freedom and extreme intention is the condensation of the power of angels. During this process of cultivation, Luo Tian will gradually comprehend the essence of the ultimate meaning of freedom. The reason why Luo Tian dissipated all the energy he had previously cultivated was because the energy he had cultivated was of no use and was weaker than the power of angels. Don't worry, the angelic power that Luo Tian can only condense now is not pure enough. According to Luo Tian's understanding of the power of angels, if true angels had a purity of 100 in their angelic power, their current purity of angelic power would only be 1. However, the angelic power with a purity of only 1 can easily destroy heaven and earth if transformed into destructive power. If we insist on assigning a combat power to such a small amount of angelic power, Luo Tian feels that the combat power of this thing should be at least 1 billion yuan high. This is still the power of an angel with a purity of only 1. Mainly, Luo Tian has not completely dissipated his energy. If all of his energy is dissipated, Luo Tian feels that the purity of his angelic power will also increase, and his combat power will increase exponentially. Luo Tian looked up at the starry sky, and couldn't help but think of Batos's notebook in his mind. Angel Luo shook her head vigorously. I'm daydreaming again. In the starry sky, spacecraft occasionally land on the planet Vegeta. Seeing more and more Saiyan people returning to the planet Vegeta, Luo Tian felt mixed emotions in his heart. According to the timeline, soon after, Frieza will destroy the planet Vegeta. It's time to leave this planet. Luo Tian is not the Virgin Mary, so naturally he wouldn't be a hero to save the planet Vegeta. Besides, the real mastermind behind the destruction of the planet Vegeta is not Frieza, but the destructive god Pyrrhus. It's not that the god of destruction, Pyrrhus, has a grudge against the Saiyans, but in fact, the existence of the planet Vegeta has seriously affected the balance of the universe. Of course, Fraser also has a bit of a sense of public revenge. Vegeta, have you been considering going to extraterrestrial combat recently? I can take you to a good place. Luo Tian turned around and asked Vegeta before leaving. Luo Tian Sunsi followed Vegeta's spaceship out of the Vegeta planet and had no intention of actively provoking Frieza. Luo Tian's principle of action is to be indecent and develop, become an angel, and marry Batos back home. What? Do you want to follow me on an extraterrestrial expedition? Vegeta quickly understood Luo Tian's meaning. When are you planning to depart? Luo Tian asked. Humph, I won't take you there. If you go, it will only drag me back. Vegeta snorted, her head raised high. Your combat power is only 100, and it's not embarrassing enough for me, the prince, to take you out. Didn't you know that I was practicing healing techniques? Luo Tian smiled mysteriously. Treatment technique. Vegeta was visibly stunned, staring at Luo Tian without blinking. Luo Tian wore a smile on his face. Vegeta suddenly remembered in her mind that Luo Tian had just recovered from the shattered detector situation. Did you think of it? I can even recover a detector, let alone your injury. Luo Tian smiled, if you don't believe me, I'll let you try it now. Try it. Vegeta froze again. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan Gods. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan Gods, Schwa. Luo Tian's figure moved and appeared behind Vegeta in an instant. The speed was so fast that even Vegeta didn't react. Vegeta rubbed her eyes vigorously, shook her head, and searched everywhere for Luo Tian's whereabouts. At the back. Luo Tian's voice echoed behind Vegeta. Vegeta was taken aback and mechanically turned her head, staring wide at Luo Tian behind her. Bang! Luo Tian slapped it and hit Vegeta's neck on the spot. Of course, Luo Tian added a little bit of angelic power in this palm, transforming it into high-intensity energy. Luo Tian did not convert the power of angels into destruction. If it were to be transformed into destruction, Vegeta might be slapped into scum by Luo Tian's palm. Despite this, Vegeta was also photographed rushing forward, and at the same time, blood sprayed from her mouth. Pop it. Vegeta suddenly fell to the ground, lying on the ground, feeling like she was not feeling well. Vegeta showed a shocked expression, her face changing and her gaze filled with endless terror. Did I get hit by Luo Tian's kid's palm? This. How could this be possible? I must have been careless and didn't flash. Yes, it must be like this. Otherwise, how could a person with only 100 combat power possibly injure me? In Vegeta's young mind, her thoughts are still relatively simple. I'll try using the healing technique now. Luo Tian stepped forward, and a turbid angelic power quickly covered Vegeta's body. Suddenly, Vegeta's injury was recovering at a visible speed to the naked eye. In less than 10 seconds, Vegeta's injury fully recovered. Vegeta immediately jumped up from the ground, feeling somewhat shocked by the changes in her body. Luo Tian also sensed a little bit of Vegeta's aura and found that his combat power did not increase as a result. Because just now, Vegeta was not in a state of imminent death, and even if he was treated, his combat power would not double. Is it really cured? Vegeta was surprised. Am I right? Remember to call me when you set off. Remember, the planet I'm taking you to is very unique. After Luo Tian finished speaking, he flew into the sky and left quickly. Vegeta stayed in place for a long time without regaining consciousness. Wait a moment, did I overlook something? Is that all that matters about you injuring me? Luo Tian flew up and soared on the blue planet of Vegeta, and soon returned to the town. At this time, the streets of the town were bustling with activity, and more Saiyan people were summoned back by Frieza. It can be said that since Luo Tian was born, he has never seen so many fellow Saiyan people. Among these returning armies, Luo Tian discovered that Sun Wukong's father, Bedak, had also returned in a spaceship. Bedak is the biological father of Sun Wukong, who also returned from outer space due to being summoned by Frieza. Bedak's appearance is extremely similar to that of Sun Wukong, with the only difference being a long scar on his face, which is a mark left by his experience of battle. In addition, there is a furry tail swaying in the wind behind him. Bedak, it's been a long time since we last saw each other. Are you still alive? A Saiyan named Lutra greeted Bedak, who had just returned, with a smile on his face. Do you know why Fraser summoned us back? Bedak turned his head and asked Lutla, who had just spoken. Who knows, it is said that a superstar has been discovered and many Saiyan people need to be deployed to attack in order to capture it, replied Lutla with a smile. Bedak was lost in thought, but he had a bad premonition in his heart. By the way, it seems that the people of the Flemish Legion are everywhere inquiring about the Super Saiyan people, Lutra added. Super Saiyan. Bedak hesitated slightly. Is that the legendary Super Saiyan? Not bad, that heroic legend. Lutra nodded proudly. Super Saiyan. A widely circulated hero among the Saiyan people. It is said that he is also the most powerful person in the entire universe. Of course, the entire universe referred to here, in the understanding of the Saiyans, is not 12 universes, but the entire 7th universe. In my understanding, there are two types of Super Saiyan people, one is an ordinary Super Saiyan person, and the other is a legendary Super Saiyan person. Luo Tian walked up and smiled slowly like a young adult. Seeing Luo Tian suddenly appear, both Bedak and Lutra were momentarily stunned. Who do I think I am? Isn't this our genius boy Luo Tian? Lutra smiled and couldn't help but press the detector on his eyes. Then he exclaimed in amazement, shaking his head and sighing, you should take a look at your combat power. I don't know what you're doing, your combat power is only 100 left. It's not a big deal, Luo Tian didn't care at all. Lutla. Bedak. Bedak also gave Luo Tian a deep glance, his eyes full of questions. Bedak has also heard a little about Luo Tian's situation. After all, Luo Tian was once an outstanding genius warrior, with a combat power of 20,000 at the age of 4. Just after a year, the combat effectiveness has become 100. What the hell is going on here? Of course, regarding the cultivation method of Luo Tian's study of that strange book, Bedak was not aware of it because he had been fighting outside for many years. It seems like you know too much about the Super Saiyan. Lutra sneered, you better take a good look at your combat power value. A good genius is just useless. How much do you know about the Super Saiyan, Luo Tian? Bedak asked curiously. As I mentioned earlier, Super Saiyan can be divided into ordinary Super Saiyan and legendary Super Saiyan. Luo Tian replied with a smile, the legendary Super Saiyan is a genius that only appears once every 1,000 years. We Saiyan can forget about it. But you can become an ordinary Super Saiyan through hard work and cultivation. Badak showed a thoughtful expression. Ha ha ha. On the side, Lutla laughed heartily. Luo Tian, the last sentence you said is that through hard work and cultivation, we can become ordinary Super Saiyan people. Why didn't you count you in? Lutra joked. I'm afraid I can't become a Super Saiyan anymore. Luo Tian sighed. Is it because you have already scrapped it? Lutra sneered again. No, I might just skip the transformation of the Super Saiyan and become the god of the Super Saiyan. Luo Tian looked up at the sky and said slowly. Lutla, dot. Badak. Dot. You can really boast. I can't keep up with your pace anymore. Also, to become a Super Saiyan, the first thing you need is to have a certain amount of S cells, and the way these S cells are born is very simple, which is to have a peaceful heart. Latte smiled and said briefly to Badak and Lutra. S cells. A peaceful heart. Lutla paused for a moment. What kind of mess are you talking about? Badak, you're doing well. Your mood is relatively calm, and there are already S cells born in your body, but it's still far from enough. Luo Tian didn't pay attention to Lutra, but looked at Badak and said, however, as long as you maintain your current mindset, I believe that in the near future, you will become a true Super Saiyan. What? I will become a true Super Saiyan. Badak hesitated for a moment. Ha ha ha, Badak, you're not taking it seriously, are you? Lutra laughed even happier on the side. Luo Tian shook his head and did not see Lutla in the same way. The reason why he said this to Badak is because Latte knew that at the moment of the destruction of the planet Vegeta, Badak could have traveled back 1,000 years. The legend about the Super Saiyan is actually passed down from Badak. Let me complete this story. Luo Tian was just about to leave. Two guards rushed from afar and landed next to Luo Tian. Luo Tian, His Royal Highness the Prince has said that he will gather at the spacecraft launch site at exactly 10 p.m. tonight. There will be no waiting outside, said one of the guards. Next time you put on the detector, it will be easier to contact. Another guard pointed to the detector he was wearing in his eyes. Next time. Got it. Could you please both of us? Luo Tian nodded. Next time. If my estimation is correct, the planet Vegeta will soon suffer a devastating blow. There is no next time. After the two guards finished speaking, they immediately bid farewell. Luo Tian, are you going out? Badak hesitated slightly. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The Exiled Son of Fate. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The Exiled Son of Fate, yes, Luo Tian nodded. Didn't that guy from Fraser say that? Don't let us leave the planet of Vegeta for now, said Lutra in a muffled voice. That's his business, it's none of my business. Luo Tian shook his head and turned around before leaving. This kid is really tough. Lutra gritted his teeth, does he really think he's still the same genius boy from before? Badak looked at Luo Tian's departing figure without speaking, but his expression was somewhat solemn. Super Saiyan. Badak murmured to himself. Subsequently, Badak took a step back to his residence. Gnei, I'm back, Badak greeted his wife Gnei, who was cutting meat in the room. Badak's wife, also known as Sun Wukong's mother Gnei, is a logistics personnel mainly responsible for the food and other logistics work of the combatants. Not all Saiyan people are combatants, and a large portion become auxiliary logistics personnel due to their low combat effectiveness. After all, the strength of a race is also inseparable from logistical work. Because Gnei's combat effectiveness is relatively low, all she can do is these tasks. Badak. Gnei's face showed surprise and she stepped forward to embrace Badak. The couple hasn't seen each other for a long time, and it's rare to reunite today. Perhaps today's gathering is also tomorrow's parting. As a fighting nation, reality is often so cruel. The street is quite lively, Bedak sighed. It's been a long time since I've seen such a grand occasion. Yeah, everyone has come back, Gnei nodded. Where's Late Eyes? Bedak asked. He has gone out to play, and he has become a fighter. He will soon partner with His Royal Highness Prince Vegeta to go to other planets, replied Jain. Your Highness Prince Vegeta. Are you partnering with such a tricky guy? Bedak silently wiped his sweat. Yes, Gnei replied. Is Carrot still in the nursery? Bedak asked again. He has been inside for 3 years now. It's time for him to come out. Do you want to go see him? Gnei replied. Arriving at the inner room, Bedak saw Carrot sleeping inside the childcare machine. Kakarot looks very similar to Bedak, and at first glance, he is biological. It's already grown so big, Bedak sighed. Yes, it looks exactly like you, especially the unique hairstyle. Gnei nodded. A brief silence. After dark, I'll steal a spherical spaceship and come back to exile this child to another planet, Bedak pondered. Hey! Why did you do this? Gnei couldn't figure it out, and she also wanted him to risk becoming an exiled son. This is for the good of Carrot, Bedak sighed softly. What happened? Gnei suddenly felt a little uneasy in her heart. Fraser is plotting something. I have a premonition of death. Bedak's face became increasingly heavy. That night, Bedak stole a spherical spaceship and stuffed Carrot into it. Taking advantage of the darkness, Bedak carried a spaceship and led Hina to a wilderness. In the wilderness, the cold wind rustles with a hint of coldness. There is not even a single person around. Speaking of which, you're actually worried about your child. It doesn't seem like you're a Saiyan, Gnei smiled. Probably infected by your innocence, Bedak smiled. In the spaceship, Kakarot was also constantly crying, as if he had a premonition that he was about to part ways with his parents. Carrot, stop making trouble, Bedak said. Bedak, let's escape together, shall we? Suggested Jain. It's useless, the detector will soon find us. Bedak shook his head and placed the spacecraft on the ground. The program is set to go to a distant planet called Earth. Gnei operated a few times on the spacecraft and said to Bedak and the Carrot inside the spacecraft, although the food on that planet is abundant, the resources on it are not of great value. Instead, it is an inconspicuous and good planet. If it's just Bedak worrying, we will soon come and pick you up. Remember, don't stare at the full moon for a long time, Bedak warned. I will also tell Late Eyes about this matter, Jain added. We must survive, Bedak waved at Carrot in the spaceship. Goodbye. Gnei couldn't bear to part. Carrot stared at his parents with big eyes, and a question mark appeared on the innocent baby's face. Mom and Dad, do you guys not want me anymore? Shoo. The spacecraft rose into the air and quickly left the planet Vegeta under the gaze of Bedak and Jain. At exactly 10 p.m. Luo Tian appeared on time at the spacecraft launch site. At this time, there were a total of 5 people gathered at the spacecraft launch site. In addition to Vegeta, there are also Sun Wukong's brother Late Eyes, as well as Naba and 2 other Saiyan people. These 5 Saiyan people, except for Naba who has grown into a strong man, are all about the same size as Luo Tian. Hello, Luo Tian, you're late, Late Eyes stepped forward. Thank you, you're welcome, Luo Tian replied. Late Eyes. What? I'm not praising you, Late Eyes wiped his sweat. Let's go, Vegeta called out and instructed the people present. Hello, Your Highness Vegeta, can we get out now? Naba still had some small concerns, didn't Your Excellency Frieza say so? We should all stay on the Vegeta planet and not go out. Humph, where is this prince going? Can he manage it? Vegeta snorted, "Do you love to go or not?" Naba lowered his head and quickly stated that he wanted to go together. 1 minute later. Shoo! A small spacecraft broke through the planet's atmosphere and flew into the starry sky. Vast starry sky, vast universe. A flattened circular spacecraft is circling in the vicinity of the planet Vegeta. It was the Emperor of the Universe, Fraser, sitting on the spaceship. Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan gods. Lisa sat in the stroller with a smile, her eyes filled with endless teasing. Note: many friends believe that Fraser is not aware of the Super Saiyan God, and it is impossible to say so. However, in the 2018 Broly Theater version, Fraser did say so, perhaps to connect with the storyline of Dragon Ball Super. The setting used in this book is based on the latest Dragon Ball Super comics, including Apprentice Angels Mel's, Granola, Black Gold Fraser, and so on, which will appear in the future timeline. Your Excellency Fraser, I believe this is just a cliché hero legend. Bulibulu shook his head. Bulibulu is a frog-like attendant who can also be considered as Frieza's nanny, responsible for his daily life. Of course I know, but I can't tolerate any unease. Fraser snorted and looked at the blue planet of Vegeta in the distant region with a smile, his eyes narrowed into triangular eyes. Anyway, the Saints are a group of extremely proud people, and they will never become my loyal servants. It's time for them to be destroyed, but Fraser has always been kind, so let them perish with the planet. It's a pity, after all, the Saiyan people are excellent fighters, sighed Bulibulu. Moreover, this matter is still the order of Lord Billis, suddenly added Fraser. What? Lord Pyrrhus. Lord Pyrrhus, the god of destruction. Bulibulu's voice trembled. I don't want a third person to know about this. Frieza squinted her eyes and glanced at Bell Blossom. As he was speaking, a little brother walked in from outside, ready to report on the matter. Then I heard what Frieza said. I don't want a third person to know. I didn't know it at that time, neither advancing nor retreating. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Leaving the Vegeta planet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Leaving the Vegeta planet. What did you hear? Lisa smiled and looked at the little brother who had just entered. Your Excellency, I haven't heard anything, actually I am deaf. The younger brother quickly knelt down. Oh. Is that right? Lisa smiled and 2 beams of light shot out of her eyes. She-la. In just an instant, this little brother of Frieza was electrocuted into ashes by these 2 photoelectric beams, and he could no longer die. Bulibulu, on the other hand, showed a smile on his face and did not feel any fear from it, as if he had become accustomed to such things. But then again, what about that former Saiyan genius? Asked Frieza curiously. Your Excellency, the great Frieza, that person just came in to report on the matter called Latte. Bulibulu wiped his sweat. Fraser. 1 minute later. Another little brother of Frieza walked in quickly and gave a brief report about Latte. Oh. His combat power dropped from 20,000 to 100. It only took him a year. He's really a genius. Frieza looked at his younger brother with a smile. The little brother dared not even lift his head and knelt there honestly. I still have some expectations, even naively thinking that his combat power can be increased from 20,000 to 100,000. Frieza shook his head in disappointment. Your Excellency, although the Saints are a fighting nation, their basic combat power cannot be improved to such a high level unless they become great apes, Bulibulu sneered. Frieza didn't continue the topic, but asked with a smile, how many Saiyans have returned to the planet Vegeta now? In about a month or so, all the Saiyan people outside will come back, only a very small number of Saiyan people, and it will take more time to rush back, Bulibulu replied. I can't wait that long, then I'll take action in a month, said Frieza with an increasingly sinister smile. Will this raise suspicions among the survivors? asked Bilibulu. Ho 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 ho. Just say it happened to be hit by a huge meteorite, okay? Lisa laughed uncontrollably, laughing back and forth. With a smile on his face, Fleisa suddenly saw a small spaceship leap from the planet Vegeta into the starry sky, flashing a bright flame in the air and flying rapidly towards a distant star field. Frieza's smile froze on her face, and her expression also turned ugly. Immediately investigate and see who is so bold. Dare to come out of the planet Vegeta at this time. Bilibulu quickly ordered to the younger brothers. The investigation results will be out soon. Oh. Vegeta. Latte. Frieza touched her chin thoughtfully, her eyes becoming increasingly cold. Your Excellency Fleisa, are you going to take them down? Bilibulu bowed respectfully and asked, then became somewhat worried. However, if you take action against their prince at this time, it will inevitably cause unnecessary trouble. The Saiyan people who have returned from other places may come to a standstill, and your plan will. Bilibulu didn't say anything later, but the meaning was already very clear. Let them go, Lisa said with a gloomy face and shook her head. Indeed, if we choose to take action at this time, the Prince of the Saints will still die, and the saints who receive the news will not return to the planet of Vegeta. A brief silence. Bilibulu, have you ever heard of raising pigs? Lisa suddenly laughed. What do you mean, Your Excellency Frieza? Bilibulu looked confused. When raising pigs, you need to first make them white and chubby, and then they will taste better. Frieza smiled as she looked at the small spaceship that had passed away. Your Excellency Fleisa's meaning is. Should we raise Vegeta and the others like pigs? Bilibulu suddenly realized. That's exactly what I mean, keep them, Lisa smiled. Isn't there a lot of pigs? Asked Bailey Blue. After thinking for a moment, Fleisa did feel that there were too many pigs and ordered, then keep Vegeta and Latte, and leave any 2 Saiyan people. A total of 4 pigs will be enough. Ha ha ha, with just one more head, it's as many as the Kinuta team, Bilibulu chuckled. Just as he finished laughing, Captain Keanu of the Kinuta team walked in, revealing a black line on his forehead. Bilibulu, you're going too far, we're not pigs. Kinu turned black and glared angrily at Bilibulu. Ha ha ha, just kidding, just kidding. Bilibulu scratched her head with some embarrassment. Is there anything wrong? Lisa turned her head to look at Keanu. Your Excellency, for this attack on the planet Vegeta, our Kinuta team is willing to be the vanguard. Kinuta bowed and bowed. There's no need to be so troublesome, a planet-destroying bomb, no one wants to run. Frieza waved his hand casually. Are you going to destroy the planet Vegeta? Keanu said somewhat regretfully, the resources on that planet are quite good. Would it be a pity to destroy them? Are you teaching me how to do things? Lisa became cold. Ah. I suddenly feel like I haven't seen the fireworks of planet destruction in a long time, Keanu reacted quickly and quickly smiled. The coldness on Frieza's face gradually turned into a smile. Shoo. As he was speaking, another spherical spacecraft flew into the starry sky and passed by near Frieza's spacecraft. Fraser. Dot. Who is it again? Lisa squinted her eyes together. Your Excellency Fleisa, he is a Saiyan baby with only 2 combat power. A subordinate immediately came to report. Do you want to shoot it down? Bilibulu asked. Is his combat power only 2? Frieza laughed at the time. Let him go, even if he grows, he won't have much success. In Luo Tian's spaceship. After flying for about an hour or so, Luo Tian turned around and looked behind him, only to find that the spaceship of the Frisian Legion had not kept up. His Highness Vegeta, which planet are we going to next? Late Eyes asked. Luo Tian, what do you mean? Vegeta turned her head and asked Luo Tian. How many spherical spacecraft are there on our spacecraft? Luo Tian didn't answer the question, but casually asked. How many are there? It seems like there are 4, Leitais rubbed her head and replied, after all, our spaceship is not very big, and we only have 4 spherical mini spaceships like this. That would be great, except for me and Vegeta, each of you 4 can go by boat, Luo Tian instructed. Leitais' smile gradually solidified. Naba showed a look of astonishment. The other 2 Saiyans were also lost. Hey, Luo Tian, don't you plan to play with them? Vegeta lowered her voice and asked Luo Tian. Luo Tian nodded. What are you taking so many people for? It doesn't have much significance. And the target is too big, it's easy to be discovered by the people of Frieza. Did you hear me? You 4, get out of here now. Vegeta made a decisive decision and rudely instructed Leitais and Naba. Naba. Dot. Leitais. Dot. The other 2 Saiyans. Dot. Together they called us to form a group, but the 2 of you flew alone. That's too much. Leitais muttered, not daring not to immediately enter the spherical spacecraft. Naba and 2 other Saiyans also entered the other 2 spacecraft. Shoo, shoo, shoo. 4 spacecraft were launched from small spacecraft, leaving behind 4 bright flames in space. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. I am not interested in Super Saiyan people. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. I am not interested in Super Saiyan people. Hello, Luo Tian. Vegeta was just about to speak. Luo Tian gently waved his hand to stop Vegeta from continuing. Next, Luo Tian pointed to the detector that Vegeta was wearing in her eyes. Vegeta was not foolish, she immediately understood and took off the detector, blocking the microphone with her fingers. What? Are you trying to tell me something, and you're afraid others will hear it? Vegeta snorted and looked at Luo Tian with a strange expression. I just don't want to cause any unnecessary trouble, Luo Tian smiled slightly. Are you suspecting that guy Frieza? Are you worried that he's eavesdropping on our conversation? Vegeta quickly realized. You're so smart, Luo Tian gave a thumbs up to Vegeta. Cut, you don't need to praise me. Vegeta snorted and casually asked, tell me, what's the name of that unique planet you're talking about? Namexing, Luo Tian said word by word. Vast starry sky, vast universe. Fraser's spaceship. Frieza still sat in the stroller, with a faint smile on her face. However, there was a hint of coldness in Frieza's smile. Your Excellency Frieza, according to the latest intelligence, 4 mini-spherical spacecraft have been separated from Vegeta's spacecraft. The younger brother reported, Naba, Leitais, and 2 other unimportant Saiyans departed on these 4 spherical spacecraft. Oh. Separated. Lisa squinted her eyes together. It seems that the little prince of the Saiyan and the former genius warrior Luo Tian are planning to act alone, Bilibulu pondered. Doria, Doria. Frieza called out. After the words fell, Doria and Xiao Xiao quickly walked in from outside and immediately bowed to Frieza. Duo and Xiao Xiao are 2 brothers, with almost no significant difference in appearance. They are wide and chubby, with pink skin and unsightly lumps exposed on their skin. You 2 split up and take action. One kills the 2 unimportant Saiyan people besides Naba and Leitais, and the other goes over and brings Vegeta and Latte to me. Frieza made a decisive decision and pondered with a smile, although they are just 2 unimportant little monkeys, let's take them back and raise them as pigs. Yes. Your Excellency Frieza. The Dodorian brothers saluted together. I want them to know that no matter what tricks they play, in the face of absolute strength, nothing is. Frieza sneered repeatedly. The 2 brothers of Doria remained silent. Go ahead, Lisa waved her hand. Before leaving. Don't underestimate the enemy. Frieza ordered again. The 2 brothers left and walked towards the spacecraft launch capsule. Hello, Doria, how about I go catch Vegeta, suggested Xiao. Xiao Xiaoli, with your fighting power, are you not afraid of capsizing in the sewer? Duo Duoli snorted, you need to understand that the fighting power of the little monkey in Vegeta is at least 15,000. My combat power is 17,000, which is 2,000 more than him. Xiao Xiaoli confidently patted his chest, his sarcoma trembling gently. Don't forget, there was once a genius warrior named Luo Tian, whose combat power reached a height of 20,000 at one point. Dodoria frowned. Brother, don't worry, isn't that kid named Luo Tian already useless? Xiao Xiaoli smiled and said. Doria was lost in thought and a bit hesitant. Doria, my good brother, don't worry, there won't be anything wrong. Doria smiled and said, it's just two Saiyan little brats. Can we still turn the tables? Be careful, don't be careless. Finally, Doria made up her mind and nodded in agreement. Wait for my good news. Xiao Xiaolia crawled into the spherical spacecraft. Luo Tian spaceship. Namek. Is there anything special about that planet? Vegeta paused for a moment. You'll know when you go, Luo Tian smiled. Humph, it's mysterious. Vegeta hummed and couldn't help rolling her eyes. Luo Tian was not angry either. Because Luo Tian knew very well that Vegeta had this rebellious personality. Luo Tian likes the rebellious and unruly Vegeta. If he were trained to be an obedient little lamb, then he wouldn't be a Vegeta. But speaking of which, Luo Tian, your healing technique is definitely tailored for this prince. Vegeta's face showed excitement, with endless expectations in her eyes. As long as we cooperate well, this universe will be ours in the future. When I become the Emperor of the universe, I will appoint you as my great general. After speaking, Vegeta seemed a bit thirsty. She walked to the bar of the spaceship, poured a glass of water, and gulped it down. Luo Tian ignored Vegeta's words and let out a soft sigh. He looked at Vegeta and asked, my prince, what is your greatest wish? The biggest wish. Why do you ask like this? Vegeta finished drinking water and wiped the water stains from the corners of her mouth. She was slightly stunned and couldn't figure it out. With a mysterious smile, Luo Tian lowered his voice and said, think about it, it's related to our trip to Namex. That nemesis. Wish. Vegeta fell into contemplation. What is the relationship between Namex and my wish? I really don't understand. What is my greatest wish? I remember now. My greatest wish, of course, is to become a Super Saiyan. Vegeta quickly said, do you think? Can you help me fulfill this wish on Namek? This kind of thing doesn't need to be completed on Namex, I can help you with it, Luo Tian replied. You. Can you make me a Super Saiyan? Don't be joking. Vegeta snorted. If you can make me a Super Saiyan, why don't you become a Super Saiyan yourself first? I'm not interested in Super Saiyan people, Luo Tian shook his head. What are you interested in? Asked Vegeta strangely. Angel, Luo Tian said. Another angel. Is that the kind of angelic power you're talking about? Vegeta was surprised. That kind of magical power with healing ability. Luo Tian did not answer the conversation. Strange guy, he's not even interested in being a Super Saiyan, Vegeta muttered in a low voice and asked curiously, so tell me, how can I become a Super Saiyan? End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Someone chases after us. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Someone chases after us. To become a Super Saiyan, the first thing to do is to have a peaceful heart, Luo Tian sighed. So from now on, you need to keep your mind calm. Cut, I don't want to maintain a peaceful heart. Don't lie to me, that's the foundation of your cultivation of angelic power. I don't want to treat, I want to be a powerful warrior. A warrior who rubs Fraser down on the ground. Vegeta looked up at the starry sky with endless anticipation in her eyes. At this age, Vegeta is the easiest to fantasize about. So much so that when I grow up, I still live in illusions. Luo Tian suddenly turned his head and quickly glanced back. What? Vegeta also turned her head and looked back. Someone is catching up, Luo Tian suddenly said. What? Someone's chasing after us. Is it Frieza's person? Vegeta paused for a moment, immediately picked up the detector and quickly put it on her eyes. BB. Suddenly, a combat effectiveness value was displayed on the detector. What? Combat power 17,000. Vegeta's face changed and her voice also became somewhat trembling. 2,000 higher than you, Luo Tian said calmly. Vegeta mechanically turned her head and looked at Latte with some fear. She gritted her teeth and tightly clenched her fist, saying, "It's Doraemon's brother, Xiaoxalia. What does Frieza want to do, this guy? Perhaps you just want to invite us to teen chat," Luo Tian smiled. "Humph, do you think it's possible?" Vegeta immediately removed the detector, blocked the microphone, and rolled her eyes. Quickly find a planet with a moon to land on. This prince wants to become a giant ape and eliminate him. There's no need for that. Did you forget that I can heal you? Luo Tian smiled nonchalantly. As long as you're seriously injured by him, I'll give you another healing, and your combat power will be greatly improved. At that moment, Vegeta's eyes lit up and she smiled foolishly at the starry sky outside. Yeah. I have an excellent treatment. What else am I afraid of? Wait a minute, you don't have a detector. How do you know someone is chasing after you? Vegeta asked strangely. I told you before not to rely on detectors, Luo Tian said with a smile. You need to learn to sense the opponent's breath, so as to know their strength and location. What? And this magical skill? Vegeta was surprised. You still have a lot to learn, Luo Tian smiled slightly. Humph, it seems like you know a lot more than me, Vegeta rolled her eyes. Don't be poor, find a planet to land on. After all, we Saiyan cannot survive in space, which is our biggest weakness. Luo Tian sighed helplessly. Although Luo Tian can already condense the angelic power with low purity. But it does not mean that Luo Tian has become an angel and can survive in the universe. That is obviously not very realistic. If you want to become a true angel, there is still a long, long way to go. At least understanding the true meaning of freedom is the first step. Luo Tian estimated slightly that if he cultivates the purity of angel power to around 10, he should be able to activate the Super Saiyan God state. The purity of angel power reaches around 15, which can almost activate Super Saiyan Blue. The purity of the power of angels can be cultivated to around 20, which can approximately activate the sign of extreme freedom. By cultivating the purity of angel power to 30, one should be able to activate the true state of freedom, which is the state of silver hair. Of course, these are just Luo Tian's calculations. Is there any connection between cultivating the power of angels and the god of the Super Saiyan? Of course there is a connection. In fact, the Super Saiyan God is the first step for Saiyan people to become gods. This is a small step in converting energy into divine power. In his past life, Luo Tian often saw Dragon Ball fans arguing about Super Saiyan 4 and Super Saiyan God. The main topic of the debate is it true that the Super Saiyan 4 are powerful, or is the Super Saiyan God stronger? In fact, to put it simply, Super Saiyan 4 is the result of a quantitative change in energy. The Super Saiyan God is a process of energy transformation. Who is stronger between the two? In Luo Tian's view, when the foundation is not significantly different, the intensity of Super Saiyan IV's transformation is greater than or equal to Super Saiyan Blue. Why should it be greater than? Because the transformation time of Super Saiyan 4 is relatively long, even if he faints, he can still maintain that state. But Super Saiyan Blue cannot do it. Therefore, even if both sides have equal strength, the Super Saiyan Blue may lose in a prolonged battle. Of course, these are just some speculations made by Luo Tian in his past life, and whether they are accurate is uncertain. Since Luo Tian has now traveled to the Dragon Ball world, he can also take this opportunity to confirm who is stronger on both sides. Luo Tian believes that letting Vegeta follow the path of Super Saiyan 4 is the best choice. However, before that, we need to solve a problem that is the weakest point of the Saiyan people. As a fighting race Saiyan, I don't even have the ability to survive in space. This is what Luo Tian complained about most. Xiao Xiaolia. Why are you chasing after me? Vegeta had already made contact with Xiao Xiaolia through a detector. Vegeta, Your Excellency Frieza wants you and Latte to go back and see him immediately. Xiao Xiaoli ordered. Humph, he can't control where this prince is going. Vegeta snorted. So, I'll have to personally catch you back, Xiao Xiaolia snorted coldly. Based on my investigation, there doesn't seem to be any planet with a moon nearby, right? Your spaceship is not as fast as mine, so it's best for you and Luo Tian to be honest with me. Even without the moon, I can still beat you to the ground looking for teeth. Vegeta hummed, how about we go to the planet ahead and fight? Oh. It seems like you're quite confident, Vegeta. Xiao Xiaoli was already happy at the time. Shoo. Shoo. Two spacecraft flashed two bright flames in the starry sky, rapidly falling towards a distant, earthy yellow planet. About a minute later, the spacecraft landed on the planet. Creak. The hatch of the spacecraft is open. Luo Tian and Vegeta flew out of the spacecraft. This time, according to Luo Tian's proposal, Vegeta did not carry a detector. Vegeta also doesn't want Frieza to know about Latte's treatment. The two sides soon met. Vegeta, why don't you take a good look at your combat power? Xiao Xiaolia chuckled lightly, my combat power is 17,000, and your combat power is only 15,000. It has to be said that as the Prince of the Saints, your combat power is absolutely amazing. Also, your combat power value has already surpassed that of the Vegeta King, right? End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Are you treating Vegeta? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Are you treating Vegeta? Humph, what's this? Vegeta snorted. Luo Tian. This former genius warrior now only has 100 combat power left. You are really a genius, the more you practice, the lower your combat power. Xiao Xiaoli let out a sigh of emotion, with endless contempt. Luo Tian ignored him and disdained to personally take action. It's such a good thing to have a little brother who likes to fight around. You two go up together. Xiao Xiaoli sneered and waved at Luo Tian and Vegeta. No need, I'm enough to deal with someone like you alone. Vegeta let out a cold snort, her energy burst out, and a bright flame burst out, quickly spreading throughout her body. Immediately after, Vegeta transformed into a stream of light and quickly rushed towards Xiao Xiaoli's direction. Shwa. At the next moment, Vegeta's figure flickered and disappeared directly across from Xiao Xiaoli. In just an instant, Vegeta appeared behind Xiao Xiaoli. Bang! Vegeta quickly punched and struck Xiao Xiaolia's waist with a punch. Xiao Xiaoli's body rushed forward. Vegeta followed up and kicked Xiao Xiaolia high into the air with a big kick. Shoo! Vegeta rose up from the sky, with a movement of her body, quickly appearing directly above where Xiao Xiaolia was. Bang! Vegeta had an inverted golden hook that hit Xiao Xiao's chest. Suddenly, Xiao Xiaoli fell from the air like a shell, hitting the ground heavily and leaving a large human-shaped pit on the ground. Vegeta descended from the sky and stomped heavily on Xiao Xiaolia's head. Click! The detector on Xiao Xiaoli's eyes was also crushed by Vegeta. Vegeta took off again, flying to a height, spraying out energy bombs in her hands. The energy bomb covered down towards Shaoli below. Boom boom. The location where Shaoli is located is dusty, with scattered stones piercing through the air. Pop. Vegeta landed across from Shaoli. Hooking. Vegeta was panting heavily, feeling waves of exhaustion. Just now, Vegeta can be said to have maximized her energy output. After the smoke gradually dissipated, Shaoli's unscathed body was revealed. No, it cannot be said to be safe and sound. Shaoli had a gray and dusty face, and her armor was shattered by the beating of Vegeta. However, Shaoli did not suffer too serious injuries. After all, there is a difference of 2000 combat effectiveness, and this difference is still quite significant. Not bad, Vegeta, the attack just now was very rhythmic. Shaoli chuckled contemptuously and patted the dust on his body. What? Vegeta's face changed again and again. How's it going? Your attack doesn't seem to be working, Vegeta. Shaoli walked towards Vegeta. Damn it. Vegeta gritted her teeth, raised her hand, and sprayed an energy bomb at Shaoli. Bang! With a fierce slap, Shaoli knocked away the energy bomb ejected by Vegeta. Vegeta's pupils suddenly shrank together, her face becoming increasingly ugly. Now it's my turn to attack, Vegeta. Shaoli laughed heartily and walked step by step towards the direction where Vegeta was located. Not good. Vegeta gritted her teeth and quickly rushed forward, punching Shaoli's head. Pop. Shaoli raised her hand slightly and caught the fist that Vegeta was attacking with her palm. What's going on? Vegeta. Is this your attack? It seems there's a difference of 2000 combat power, and this difference is not even a fraction of a star. Shaoli laughed heartily. Vegeta's face was extremely ugly. Bang! Shaoli fiercely slammed his forehead against Vegeta's head. Ah! Vegeta let out a scream and blood flowed from her forehead. Bang! Shaoli didn't have much to be polite, so he kicked Vegeta high into the air with a big kick. Immediately afterwards, Shaoli quickly rose to the sky and appeared directly above the location of Vegeta. Ha ha ha. Shaoli let out a burst of laughter and kicked Vegeta in the waist. Ahem. Vegeta let out another scream, and her whole body fell from the sky like a shooting star. Boom boom. Vegeta slammed heavily onto the planet's ground, causing it to shake violently and leaving a large crater on the ground. Pop. Shaoli fell to the edge of the big pit and stomped hard on the ground. Vegeta was forcefully shaken out of the pit by Shaoli and flew to a height. Pop. Shaoli grabbed Vegeta's tail and picked it up casually. Hey, don't die, Vegeta, my Saiyan little prince. Your Excellency Frieza asked me to catch him alive and go back, said Shaoli, without any courtesy, and lightly slapped Vegeta's face. These two slaps didn't strike hard, fearing that one accidentally would kill him. After all, Frieza didn't want Vegeta's life for the time being, he just ordered Xiao to take Vegeta and Luo Tian back. Ah! Vegeta spurted blood out of her mouth, feeling that her life was about to come to an end. However, Vegeta did not give up when she thought of Luo Tian's powerful healing as a backing. Hey! Vegeta opened her mouth wide and took a bite into Xiao's hand. Ah! Shaoli let out a scream and forcefully smashed Vegeta to the ground. After landing, Vegeta crawled towards Luo Tian in a disheveled manner. Humph, are you a dog? Shaoli rubbed her hand that was bitten by Vegeta, her teeth itching with hatred, and said coldly, I didn't expect you had the strength to run away. But can you run through the palm of my hand? Speaking, Shaoli smiled and glanced at Luo Tian again. Hello, Luo Tian, once a genius boy, are you coming with me? Or should I repair you to be like a Vegeta before coming with me to see Lord Frieza? Xiao said to Luo Tian with great interest. Wait a moment, Luo Tian said, lifting his right hand slightly upwards, adding a cloudy angelic power to his hand. Suddenly, a dazzling flame like a star quickly covered Vegeta's body. Vegeta's injury also recovered at a visible speed to the naked eye. What are you doing? Xiao paused for a moment, suddenly feeling that something was not quite right. It's okay, just wait a moment, it will be fine soon, Luo Tian grinned. Are you treating Vegeta? Xiao was not foolish and quickly realized. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. It's great to have a treatment like yours. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. It's great to have a treatment like yours. Chapter 9. Beta returns to victory. Congratulations, your answer is correct, Luo Tian nodded. What? Saya can still use healing techniques. Xiao hesitated for a moment and frowned. So, are you not improving your combat power just to learn how to heal? Alright, Vegeta. Luo Tian greeted Vegeta. Pop. Vegeta jumped up from the ground and quickly examined her body, her face suddenly showing endless surprises. What? It's cured now. Xiao frowned tightly together. It's okay, isn't it? Luo Tian smiled and said. Humph, even if you know how to heal, what can you do? Even if Vegeta recovers 2 or 3 more times, she is still not my opponent. Xiao sneered and pointed his hand at Luo Tian's body through the air. However, I won't let you treat him again. Before that, let's make sure you can't take care of your life on your own. Boom. As he spoke, Xiao ejected an energy bomb from his hand. The energy bomb roared towards the direction where Luo Tian was. Luo Tian doesn't even take any hiding. Hey! However, Vegeta let out a loud shout and slapped him fiercely, directly shooting the energy bomb ejected by Xiao into the sky. What? Xiao was taken aback for a moment, not expecting Vegeta to be so fierce. Because in Xiao's view, the energy intensity of the energy bomb just released could completely inflict serious injuries on both of them. Of course, there is a possibility that Vegeta will avoid it. However, to Xiao's surprise, Vegeta did not hide and slapped the energy bomb she had released to fly. Shoo! Vegeta transformed into a bright stream of light and quickly rushed forward, hitting Xiao's chest heavily with her own head. Puff! Xiao spewed out a large mouthful of blood, and her face instantly turned pale. Vegeta made an upward hook and hit Xiao's chin on the spot. Xiao tumbled in the air and fell to the ground, feeling like she was not doing well. Pooh! Vegeta spat out a mouthful of saliva, with a proud expression on her face. Xiao wiped the blood off her mouth and struggled to get up from the ground. She looked at Vegeta with some disbelief and then at Luo Tian near Vegeta, feeling a bit confused for a moment. How could this? How could it be? Xiao's face was shocked and he asked strangely, how do I feel like your combat power seems to have improved? Xiao, don't you know? Vegeta chuckled lightly. What do you know? Xiao was taken aback. We Saya are reborn from the brink of death, and our combat effectiveness will greatly improve. Vegeta laughed heartily. What are you? What are you saying? Xiao's face changed again and again. Luo Tian, can you sense my combat power? Asked Vegeta. Around 18,000, Luo Tian pondered. What? Just increased by 300. Vegeta felt a little uncomfortable in her heart. Not bad, I'm afraid it won't grow again in the future, Luo Tian said. Vegeta. What? What does it mean? What does it mean to never grow again in the future? Vegeta didn't think much about it. 3,000 is enough. Now my combat power has reached 18,000, which is 1,000 more than this guy's. I have more than enough to deal with him. In fact, it is said to have a combat power of 1,000, but in reality, Vegeta has an absolute advantage. Because before this, Xiao had fought, energy was also consumed, combat effectiveness declined, and he was also injured. But Vegeta has fully recovered, not only returning to its peak, but also improving its combat effectiveness. With a combat power of 18,000. This is impossible, this is absolutely impossible. Xiao shouted loudly, his eyes full of disbelief. You'll soon know if it's possible. Vegeta let out a cold snort and quickly rushed to the opposite side where Xiao was located. Xiao was extremely shocked, and her pupils were filled with endless terror. Go to hell. Vegeta kicked Xiao and kicked him hard into the air. Boom. Vegeta unleashed her energy to the extreme, and the immense energy instantly devoured Xiao. After everything had calmed down, Xiao had already been bombed into pieces by Vegeta. Hooking. Vegeta was panting heavily, and her energy was also greatly depleted. It is obvious that the cost required to completely eliminate Xiao is also significant. It can be said that Vegeta's energy has bottomed out. Quick, Luo Tian, help me recover my energy. Vegeta instructed Luo Tian. Vegeta, don't rely on my healing skills for everything, Luo Tian sighed. For things like restoring energy, just chew on a chicken leg and eat something to recover. Vegeta. Cut, forget it. Vegeta didn't want to ask anyone either. Now that Xiao is dead, there is a possibility that Fraser will use the positioning system on our spacecraft to locate us, Luo Tian pondered. It seems like we need to find a way to destroy the positioning system on the spacecraft. Humph, don't bother so much, Vegeta smiled proudly. I suddenly came up with a great idea. Maybe I can defeat the guy from Frieza. Oh. What? Luo Tian asked. You beat me half to death and then treat me. This way, my combat power will continue to improve. Vegeta showed a face of fanaticism, and her immature face was filled with endless expectations. Cough. Such a good request. It's the first time I've heard of it, sighed Luo Tian. Humph, with treatment like yours, I will soon grow into a Super Saiyan. Vegeta laughed heartily and patted Luo Tian's shoulder. Don't worry, Luo Tian. When I become a Super Saiyan and the #1 in the universe, I will definitely not mistreat you. It's not impossible for me to beat you half to death. Luo Tian shook his head gently. Is there any problem? Vegeta was taken aback. I think it's necessary for you to clarify one thing first, Luo Tian replied. What's up? Vegeta asked strangely. Do you know what Frieza's combat power is? Luo Tian asked. Humph, how much can there be? At most 200,000, right? Vegeta guessed and smiled smugly, as long as my combat power exceeds 20,000, I can turn into a giant ape and press him to the ground for friction. Requesting recommended tickets, end of this chapter. Do you know the combat effectiveness of Fraser in Chapter 10? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Do you know the combat effectiveness of Fraser in Chapter 10? You underestimate Frieza too much, Luo Tian shook his head slowly. Then tell me, what is Frieza's combat power? Asked Vegeta. Luo Tian slowly extended 5 fingers. What? 500000. Vegeta's face changed slightly, but she wasn't too shocked. Then she lowered her head and analyzed, this guy's combat power is beyond my imagination. It seems that my combat power needs to be increased to over 50,000 before I can become a giant ape to rub against him. You can become a giant ape, wouldn't Frieza transform? Luo Tian added lightly. You. What are you saying? Frieza will transform. How could that be? Vegeta's expression froze for a moment, showing an incredulous expression. As far as I know, Fraser not only transforms, but also transforms several times, Lotte sighed. What? How many times will it change? Vegeta couldn't help but tremble. At least 3 times, Luo Tian said. Vegeta. Vegeta doesn't want to speak anymore, her face looks as ugly as it seems. As for combat power. For the first transformation, it seems like the combat power can reach a height of 1 million, Luo Tian added. What? With a combat power of 1 million. Vegeta's voice increased several times in decibels. There's nothing to be surprised by, Luo Tian said. Vegeta. What? Because what's even more surprising is still ahead, Luo Tian replied. Vegeta. The second transformation has a combat power of at least 2 million, Luo Tian continued. Vegeta felt a bit unnatural and her expression was somewhat frozen. The third transformation has a basic combat power of about 3 million, Luo Tian said. 3 million. Vegeta's face turned pale with fear. That is to say, my basic combat power must reach at least 300,000 to become a giant ape in order to compete with this guy. I haven't finished speaking yet, Luo Tian smiled. Vegeta remained silent. This is just the foundation of Frieza. If Frieza boosts all his energy, his maximum combat power can reach 120 million, Luo Tian said calmly. Vegeta's mouth twitched uncontrollably, her body trembled for a moment, and she sat down on the ground, her face turning pale. Vegeta was panting heavily, feeling as if she was almost suffocating. With a combat power of 120 million. Is it really fake? If all of this is true, I feel like even if he farts, he can kill me. Vegeta's mentality collapsed. If this is true, then, what a terrible monster this guy is. Silence lasted for 20 seconds. Vegeta slowly regained her senses, rolled her eyes, and glanced at Luo Tian, saying, "It's impossible. You're making up nonsense. Don't be there to scare people. I didn't lie to you." It was during a chat between the god of destruction, Weiss, and Weiss beside him. I heard it. Luo Tian casually gave a reason. What? The god of destruction, Weiss. He said it. Vegeta looked surprised. These are not the main points, Luo Tian shook his head. Vegeta. What? You've said so much, isn't that the point? Isn't Frieza's high combat effectiveness the key? The key is, with his combat power value, how many times do you need to be seriously injured to surpass him? Luo Tian sighed, let me calculate. If I'm lucky, 1 time only increases combat power by 300 points. How many times in total? Vegeta. Vegeta felt heartbroken again. If the combat power is increased by 300 at a time, with 1,000 serious injuries, the combat power will only reach 3 million. It takes 10,000 serious injuries to reach 300 million. Vegeta's mentality is a bit tense. Seriously injured 10,000 times. Who can bear this? In fact, Vegeta did not know that after being on the brink of death, the improvement in combat effectiveness can sometimes double. Of course, sometimes it only adds a small amount. However, sometimes it can fold several tens of times. It's like Sun Wukong in the plot, in a battle against Captain Keanu on Namek. During that period, Sun Wukong's basic combat power was approximately 180,000. After being seriously injured by Vegeta, he was placed in a treatment pod for treatment. After Sun Wukong's injury recovered, his basic combat power increased to 3 million. Vegeta is similar, but there is less improvement than Sun Wukong. When Vegeta went to Earth, her combat power was 18,000, and she was on the brink of death and rebirth, increasing her combat power to 24,000. During the battle between Vegeta and Sabo, she was seriously injured and healed, and her combat effectiveness increased to around 35,000. Later on, Vegeta encountered the Kinuta team again and was seriously injured. After recovering, her combat effectiveness skyrocketed, estimated to be over 500,000. This is also the Kinu member Gis who fought against Vegeta. After seeing this combat power value, he naively thought that the detector was broken. It is precisely because of this crazy increase in Vegeta's combat power that he dares to compete with Frieza, who has achieved a combat power of 530,000. Next, Vegeta was once again taken aback by Clint, and after Dandy's healing and recovery, her combat power increased to around 2.5 million. Nevertheless, Vegeta is still not a match for the fourth form of Frieza. However, in the later stages, Sun Wukong, Vegeta, and even Sun Wufan could no longer obtain energy enhancement through the brink of death. Because this kind of improvement will have limits. They have reached the limit of their cultivation. Moreover, as far as I know, there is a certain limit to improving combat effectiveness through this method. Once it reaches a certain limit, it will not improve again. Luo Tian sighed and patted Vegeta's shoulder, advising, "So, don't take this shortcut. Cultivation is a gradual process and cannot be achieved overnight." Vegeta fell silent, her young soul suffered serious damage. According to the combat power value you mentioned, even if you become a Super Saiyan, you may not necessarily be the opponent of that Frieza, right? Vegeta's face turned pale. Perhaps Super Saiyan is a form of transformation. Luo Tian smiled. Vegeta was taken aback. For example, after transforming into a Super Saiyan, your strength will increase by 50 times, Luo Tian smiled and said. By this calculation, as long as you reach a certain level of combat power, you can press Frieza down and rub it against the ground, 3 million. Vegeta immediately answered. Congratulations, your answer is correct, Luo Tian nodded. Vegeta. Cut, a bunch of baseless nonsense. Vegeta snorted, is Super Saiyan a form of transformation? Let's go, don't worry about this problem anymore. Luo Tian walked towards the direction of the spacecraft. End of this chapter.